Hi, everybody. Well, you're probably sort of well aware that we're sort of decided to take a break from the Deep Dive podcast right now. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to basically to tell you a bit about the why and what's going to be happening. Don't worry, the episodes are probably going to be returning probably the last week of July. So don't worry, we've got plenty of episodes in the can. And what's going to be happening is basically we're going to be releasing those and stuff like that. And we're still going to be recording. We're basically in the process of editing the first year episode, which will be released probably around that time anyway. But we'll just have to sort of wait and see. I've just basically just I'm putting it on audio on only at the moment. You probably sort of noticed that because I'm just trying to sort of like, think off the cuff and just trying to sort of work out why and just trying to work out my thoughts just in a bit of an info dump type of way. So, basically with the podcast, I've really enjoyed sort of making it so far. The best thing about making the podcast is basically connecting with you, the guests and the listeners, and I've been really sort of appreciative of that. The fact is that we've been doing so well up until now with the podcast, both on YouTube and also through the streams and everything is like that as well. So I'm just a little bit concerned about the way we're being treated at the moment, just generally. I know a lot of you know a lot of you at the moment that are working in the disability industry are being hammered at the moment, and I just feel that's not right. I just feel like that's also affecting why they're not coming back for the first year of the podcast, or they're just trying not to celebrate. So it just feels like concerning to me that sort of like it's sort of they're being hammered by things that they're sort of like, decisions that are being sort of like done that are really not under our control. So I just feel like they're getting hammered with that. Also, the fact is that we've been on YouTube. We've got a good sort of amount of subscribers. We're currently sitting at 8,420 subscribers at the moment. So, but the concern is what I've got is basically it's sort of looking at the videos and the stats that we've got. Usually we get probably around like 1,500 views and quite a few likes of the videos. And obviously it's because it's getting a bit of cut through and basically people are liking our content and all that type of thing, which I'm really sort of thrilled about. And that's actually what happened last year. I think we sort of like had, excuse me for a second, we had about like 2,600 like 73 listeners and stuff like that for one, and 1,576, 1,615. But last week that kind of concerned me. We only got 25, and I don't know what's happening. Is it because you're not liking my content? Is it because it's a bit too controversial? What are you liking about it? What aren't you liking about it? And I'm just trying to sort of work out the why and all that type of thing. Also, I feel like, sometimes YouTube has basically put policies in that doesn't make any sense to me. Because, when we sort of like, put some promotions through, and not spending much on promotions, by the way, but, just trying to sort of like, we get sort of more subscribers out of it and more sort of like, listeners out of it and more sort of like views out of it and all that type of thing. And then sort of like, you're sort of getting the not as many promotion views. It's really dropped to a really low degree. And it's kind of feeling a bit disheartening in terms of like what I'm sort of like, the aims of the podcast and what we're going to do. And also the fact is that I just feel like, there's some important subjects that needs to be, viewed and all that type of thing. So I kind of need to know what I'm doing wrong. I'm just trying to sort of work out that fact. It's just interesting that we sort of like, had a really good success and stuff like that, the podcast over last year, and then suddenly through pretty much no fault of our own, we're basically sort of creating some really good content. Well, I feel it is anyway. And then, it's just dropped to the amount of subscribers we've got is sort of like, it's fairly minimal reach. So I kind of feel a bit disheartened by that. So that's the first thing I wanted to sort of let you know about. Second thing is, I was also, with a personal view, I did a really good course through the Social Impact Hub, and it was really, really sort of exciting, and there was a lot of inspiration behind it and all that type of thing, and then it was all like really good content and all that type of thing. And then sort of like, following that, I did a micro business course. When I did the Social Impact Hub and stuff like that, they knew about my disability. And I was basically upfront about the disability. They embraced it and made sure that I basically got appreciated through that. And I met some really wonderful people through that, which I still do. And I'm really sort of awesome for the fact that I've still got these people and stuff like that, that I'll be sort of continuously, talking to and stuff like that on a regular basis and trying to help me and stuff like that. When I went to the small business course or the micro business course, which I got referred to through my disability employment agency, I did disclose my autism, and I disclosed that my disclosure was actually quite sort of, how do I describe it? It was fairly sort of like, and it was very in depth, and they sort of like said they needed more support and all that type of thing. But it didn't really sort of convey through the through to the trainers, and I just felt like in certain parts it was doing really well, was starting really well, and then it got to the finance bit, and then sort of like they put some like really sort of high figures, and then you got to make these high figures and all that type of thing, and sort of then my spiraling got really, really bad. And then sort of like, I was spiraling, and they basically was like, got really sort of, basically sort of got really, how to describe it, a bit let down by the process, and they wanted me to make like $21,000 worth of profit. Anyway, I feel like they're just going to say that my business is like basically not profitable or not sustainable, or basically sort of like basically sort of the word. And also basically sort of what actually happened is I think I spiraled down and stuff like that, and I tried to sort of like break the cycle before it sort of got me any worse in terms of my mental health. But anyway, I think I've got some good opportunities and stuff like that in New Horizon, which I'll be discussing with people, and I've already discussed it with some others and stuff like that at the moment, and that's still in development. So not to worry, I think that's going to be happening as well. But that's, on the other hand, and also the public speaking went absolutely well. I really enjoyed that. And there's also potentially more opportunities than that on the horizon, both with obviously with the Disability Expos, and also possibly a conference in late September. So I'll tell you more information about that as we go on. But there's sort of like, there's more sort of like, more prospects on the horizon with me, because I know sort of like with me with the public speaking, I like to sort of like, do more public speaking. And I know for a fact there's 50% of adults that are autistic that are unemployed or underemployed. So I'm trying to get that sort of statistic down, and I'm trying to sort of like, work out a way which we could sort of help, basically employers and individuals try and sort of navigate the employment system. But anyway, that's still in a little bit of a development stage at the moment. Also, I need your help in relation to sort of like a paid site, which I'm trying to be, or membership site on the deep dive that I'm trying to sort of develop at the moment. So we've got a site that I may be launching probably in the next few months. I'm not too sure of the content as yet. If you go to the survey at my Linktree, tr.ee.michael Coles, you can actually sort of do that, or you can click the QR code that's on the screen right now. You could sort of, I want to get your advice and your what you want to see in the actual sort of like, in the sort of like, the little membership site, because there is a couple of things which I like to sort of share a bit more personal stuff about myself that, well, firstly, may not be suitable for Instagram, or suitable for YouTube. So I think doing it in this way will be able to sort of, I can control some of my content and not potentially have it removed due to Instagram's policies or YouTube's policies that they seem to sort of change from time to time. And I got no idea what that is and stuff like that, because Google, I found that they sort of change their policies for like, for no reason, and I don't know what that is and stuff like that. And that sort of really doesn't really help in terms of what content to put through. And I want to make sure sort of like, I can sort of share some of my more like, more sort of like content or something like that to a select amount of people. But anyway, I'm thinking around $7 or $12, $7 for the light site and $12 for VIP. The light site will probably have like, like a community chat, or something like a bulletin board or something like that, or that's sort of my thoughts at the moment. Also, we could have like, little webinars on there, live webinars that people can register for and actually sort of like, be involved, and try and sort of like, be involved with the webinars, and they can ask questions to the guests and stuff like that. I can have live shows, that type of thing, without having to, I could just do it via Zoom, and then sort of and then I could share you the link directly, and then you can sort of like, do that. And then I could have the recording via that portal. So that's what I'm trying to do. There's also sort of some context that I'm sort of trying to sort of deal with. Maybe sort of like themed body doubling. I don't know. That's probably the crazy idea I've got in my head at the moment. But tell me what you want. So I like to sort of know what you want in the site and stuff like that. It's not going to be that I'm trying to make it as cost effective as possible, and I'm trying to sort of make sure that you get the most out of it. And the truth is, the other thing is, I'm not getting much income from like the site at the moment. I'd like to make some money back off the site. Well, I tried to sort of get some sponsorships involved, but unfortunately they went to be either they sort of like, people don't have the cost at the moment, or don't have the funds, or something like that. It's a cost of living crisis at the moment, so we're sort of like, I'm not too sure about that, but I'm trying to sort of get, so obviously some sponsors to be able to sort of like, keep the podcast going, and also sort of like, the paid site might be able to help back in terms of getting back some of that costs, which I actually use in terms of some of the software that I use. So it'll be good to sort of get that sort of money back in some way, shape or form. But anyway, that's I like to sort of like, if you'd like to give me some feedback, that'd be absolutely great. Just go to my link tree via the site you've got now, and then you can actually sort of go through and submit your suggestions and stuff like that. And if you got any sort of like suggestions that I haven't asked those questions, just send me a DM and I'll just take it from there. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of like have a bit of a ramble and just tell you where I'm at the moment, and basically why the podcast is on a little bit of a hiatus at the moment. And I just wanted to be honest with you. But and this is obviously audio only, because I'm just feeling a little bit embarrassed and stuff like that by showing my face at the moment. I basically don't like sort of like, episodes where I could sort of like, where I can video my own voice or video my own sort of thing. I tend to be a bit scared by that, but doing it via sort of like an audio sort of wave or way, I could just basically info dump my information and stuff like that on here. I'll caption and stuff like that in the video so you can actually sort of see it, but hopefully you'll be able to sort of like, get my rambling a bit. Anyway, I shall be back. I'll tell you what's happening on the 14th of July. I'll be back by then, so I could actually sort of tell you what is happening with the site and when the next episode will be aired. But I just want to be honest with you in the meantime and just basically give you a little bit of like a sort of like, a info dump rundown of what's happening with the Deep Dive podcast at the moment. So I shall catch you later.